Okay guys, this is the TRN Kirin. It's a planar magnetic IEM, and very seldom does an IEM make me bob my head when I'm listening to my music, and this is one of them, and I like this planar magnetic IEM very much. Hi guys, my name's Ian. Thank you so much for clicking on this video. I do mostly audio product reviews, and if you guys are interested in this type of content, do consider to subscribe to my channel and click on the bell so that you get notified of my future videos. Right, so let's jump right straight into the review. This is a planar magnetic IEM, and it's retailing for $129 US. Very nice for its price. I think planar magnetic IEMs, the price has been coming down, and TRN is making it very affordable to the masses, and it's a very affordable price for planar magnetic. Okay, so I'm gonna go through the accessories and then the specs, and of course the sound of this planar magnetic IEM. So let's just jump straight in. The box that it comes in is like this. It's a very nice box, very sturdy box. Okay, very typical of TRN, and doesn't disappoint. Very nice and sturdy box. So it protects the IEM when it was shipped to me, and of course the other accessories. Okay, and the accessories, man, it comes with a lot of accessories, so let's just go through one by one. Of course, the paperwork, let's just put them one side. I think you guys should know what paperwork it comes with. Now the case, right, comes with the carrying case, and this case is a hard case and is durable, and also is soft and plush on the inside. All right, so very nice and thoughtful of them to provide this case. In fact, when I was unboxing the review of the TRN TA1 Max, it came with the same box. Okay, let's talk about the cable first. All right, so the cable is really unique. It's a 4-core braided cable, and it's got this interchangeable headphone tip, right, or rather the source tip, right? So the interchangeable tips, they are actually the XLR connectors. Okay, you've got 3 different sizes: 2.5 mil, 4.4 mil, and the normal 3.5 mil. So these 3 options at the same time, they have an adapter, quarter-inch adapter, and with this array of options here, you can connect to almost any source for this IEM. Okay, so it's very thoughtful of them to provide this option. All right, the cable itself is okay. It is a braided cable, right? The chins, there's no chin slider, or there is one here. Okay, the Y splitter, okay, is made of metal, right? It's got their branding there. The chin slider is made of plastic. It's like a ball, acrylic ball. And the ear hooks, they're okay. It's a little bit long for the memory ear hooks here, all right, but it's okay. It's a little bit soft, okay, and it's quite pliable. Okay, the 2-pin connector is recessed. I think this should be QDC. Yeah, it's recessed 2-pin, and that's about it. The connectors I already spoken. So the connectors will then connect to this port here, right? So you have a notch here that indicates where you should go, or which direction you should go in, and on the connector here itself, it also shows that notch, so you can match up the notch. Okay, and then you can plug it in like so. Okay, so, and oh, there's also an indication here. So yeah, so it's pretty user friendly, right? And you can connect to the different connectors like so. There you go. Okay, makes a sound. I'm not too sure why, but yeah, that's how you connect it. Okay, so that's for the cable. Now let's talk about the tips. Man, the tips. In total, there are 8 different pairs of tips, and 3 different types of tips. Okay, let's go through one by one. So you have the wide bore, the narrow bore, and the foam. All right, so foam tips, let's put that one side first, but let's talk about the silicone tips, which is the narrow bore, which is the black one. So these are narrow. So if you want more bass, okay, you should go with these tips. And this is the wide bore tips. So if you want more treble, you should go with these tips. Okay, so 2 different tips here, and altogether 6 different types, 3 different sizes. Then on top of that, they provide foam tips. So if you like foam, you want more seal, the foam tips will help you out on that. Okay, and on the IEM itself, there is another set of tips. Okay, so in total 8 different pairs of tips, and you can mix and match for all you like. Okay, and something very special, the tuning nozzle. Okay, so this is the tuning nozzle, and there are 3 different lengths. Okay, so this right here, which is already on the IEM itself, is the shortest. Okay, so these filters or these nozzles, if you change them, will give you different sound stage. It will change the sound stage. So the most intimate sound stage would be the shortest nozzle, and the widest sound stage is the longest nozzle. Now I've tried all 3 nozzles. I'll talk about them later. Okay, so these are the accessories that comes with the IEM, and it's a lot for $129. So I think it's quite worth it, right? A lot of accessories with the interchangeable nozzle for $129. Okay, so let's put the accessories one side and let's talk about the IEM itself. Okay, together with the nozzle. Okay, so this is the IEM itself. It's a planar magnetic IEM. It's got a 14.5 magnetic driver inside. It's a planar magnetic driver inside, so it's pretty huge driver, right? This here is the nozzle. Let's talk about that one later. On the faceplate, it's pretty okay. It's perforated. I'm not too sure if this is a real perforation where, you know, it's permeable, but I guess it's not. Okay, and then surrounding the border is like a golden border. I'm not a fan of this design, to be honest. Okay, with this gold accent on this surrounding of the faceplate, I wish it's something more flashy, but you know, some people may like this type of design. Yeah. On the inside shell, you have indication of left or right, and there's this special vent here that relieves the air pressure. Okay, so this is really good. So it balances out the sound. Okay, so there's not much of a air pressure inside. There's some vent here as well. Okay, and then there is this interchangeable nozzle. Okay, so this nozzle can be screwed off. Okay, and then you can see the driver inside. I'm not too sure if you can see, but yeah, this is how you change the nozzle. Is basically screw on and screw off. And on top here you have the 2-pin connector, right? And that's about it. So this one is I would say, in terms of design, okay, I'm not really a big fan of this design, but it works. Okay, aesthetically it doesn't look good, but it sounds good. Okay, it doesn't need to look good to sound good. Yeah. Let's talk about fit and comfort. So this fits my ear really well, and the shorter nozzle is the one that fits my ear the best. That's why I'm at the shorter nozzle. So in terms of the physical fatigue, there is none, right? It feels very comfortable in my ear. It may be a little bit chunky, right? But actually it's not. It's okay. It's fine. I wish that the back here would sit a little bit more flush to the inside of my ear. but I guess it's the shape of this IEM that this does not allow that. But yeah, that's for my ears. It may be different from yours. Okay, so for fit and comfort, no discomfort there. There's no parts that is pressing against my ear, or any discomfort or any fatigue when using this IEM. Okay, so let's talk about the sound, right, with these different filters, okay? But before I do that, obviously I've measured this IEM, so let's take out my graph. Okay, so as you can see, I have my graph here. Let's put it one side first. And let's talk about the technicalities of this IEM before we talk about the graph. And man, am I really impressed with the technicalities of these IEMs, right? They are really great. The soundstage, right? So soundstage, as you can see, as I mentioned, you can actually adjust or change the soundstage by changing the nozzle length. Okay, so you have three different lengths. You have the shortest one, which is transparency, and you have reference. Okay, and the last one is atmospheric illumination. Okay, so I would choose the transparency. Okay, so this one sounds the most intimate, right? And this one sounds the widest. Unfortunately, it sounds a little bit artificial and robotic, and it sounds a little bit synthesized to me when using the this longest nozzle. So and this one, the transparency sounds the most natural to me. So I prefer this one, right? The transparency nozzle. Okay, so three different nozzles that you can choose and can change that will change the sound stage. Now, the sound stage for the transparency nozzle is intimate, as I mentioned, and is I wouldn't say boxed in, but it's got a more intimate type of soundstage. The depth is good, all right. There's still depth, right? Don't get me wrong. It's just that the soundstage sounds closer, all right. It sounds closer. It's got a very precise soundstage, right? It produces a very precise soundstage. The layering is there. You can hear the different layers of the sound. All right, you have your vocals in front, you've got your drums, you've got your background singers, and the side instruments. They are nicely placed out, nicely layered. That's what I like, right, about planar IEMs. So they are really precise, very good in performance. And for the imaging as well is very good. It actually positions the instruments in the correct position. At the same time, I can actually tell the positions of the instruments, and also, you know, when sound is transiting from the left to the right, you can actually track that sound, and it's really crystal clear. Okay, so imaging is really good as well. Detail retrieval and resolution, oh man, is fantastic, right? The details on these are really clear. The nuance and the small little sound is really clear to me, and I can pick up the sound really easily on these IEMs, and the resolution on this is fantastic. So in terms of the sound reproduction and the quality of that sound that it produces is really good. Okay, so that's for the technicalities of the IEM. The tone and timbre of this is a little bit on the drier side. It's a bit dry, and it's a bit on the leaner side. Okay, but let's talk about that later. Now let's talk about the frequency. All right, so this is the graph of the TRN Kirin, and again, I'd like to remind everyone that this is just a graph. Okay, please do not judge or decide the performance of an IEM by just looking at the graph. Okay, because you have your technical part that it cannot be measured, like for example soundstage, tone and timbre, and resolution and detail retrieval. Okay, so just by looking at the graph does not tell you everything about the IEM. Okay, so looking at this graph, the sound signature of this IEM is more of a U shape, V shaped. Okay, the mids are recessed. Okay, the bass is a little bit elevated for this IEM, but it's really well. It sounds like it's signature and its tuning, except for the treble here, which I'll explain a little bit later. Okay, so let's talk about the sub bass, right? So sub bass is close to the Harman target, which is my preference. In fact, actually, I would prefer the sub bass to be a little bit less than the Harman target, right? I don't mind less sub bass, but the sub bass on these IMs, they are great, right? The rumble is nice and clear, right? And it's extended. It's got good extension, good rumble. The note weight is a little bit on the leaner side, right? It's got that different type of rumble as compared to a dynamic driver. Okay, I can hear that it's a little bit on the leaner side, a little bit on the drier side. It's not so dry to a point that it's crispy. It's actually pretty natural, all right, and close to neutral type of timbre, right, and the tone. So the rumble is there. Okay, it's really nice and precise, and it's got a good execution of that rumble. Okay, so in terms of quality, sub bass, this produces good quality of sub bass. The mid bass as well, the thump is there, the impact is there. Again, it's a little bit on the lighter side, leaner side, so it doesn't have that heavy note weight. The notes are not heavy. The notes are a little bit on the light and lean side, but you can feel the thump, the impact, but it's very clinical. So it's a clinical type of mid bass, and it's really fast. All right, really fast mid bass. You can actually feel that repeated impact again and again at a very fast pace, and this reproduces that repeated bass very accurately. Okay, so it does not bleed into the mids. That's one thing good, and it's well controlled, and it's a little bit on the lean and dry side for the mid bass. Now let's talk about the mids, right? So as you can see from the graph, right, the mids is recessed, and when listening to this IEM, yes, it is. So for instruments, they sound laid back, right? But they actually sound very clear, right? But it's just that the bass is a little bit overpowering, and of course the cymbals is also overpowering, so the mids are actually recessed. They sound recessed to me. So for the pianos and the violins, the clarinets, right, not so much clarinets, the trumpets as well, you know, they sound clear, right? They sound really nice and clear. It's just that they lack a little bit of that tone, right? It's a dry, they've got that dry tone, paper dry type of tone, and very clinical, right? They sound very clinical. So pianos, they sound really natural, right? I would say neutral, right? Neutral, and doesn't have that warm tone to it, but it's good for some people who really wants to hear the actual sound and actual reproduction of the sound. This one does it really well. It's just a little bit dry, right? Some people may not like it. For me, I like it. It's clinical. I like to listen to this type of analytical type of sound, and it's really crystal clear, right? Even though it's recessed, I can hear it very clearly. The quality of that sound reproduction of the mids is nice and clear. It's just as it's recessed and laid back. Okay, for male vocals, right? So male vocals, same thing, right? There's the note weight is a little bit on the lighter side, and the authority of that male vocal is not center stage, right? It's being veiled, and it's just behind the mid bass and the cymbal strikes and the hi-hats and all that, the treble. So you can feel that the vocals, they are trying to fight for space and for the attention in the entire mix. But you know, again, the reproduction of their voice is very nice and clear, right? So the quality of that sound alone, you can hear that is very analytical, right? As compared to a warm type of tone, right? So it's a different type of listening experience on these Kirins, okay? For female vocals, wow, female vocals, they sparkle, they've got energy, they've got that presence in the mix itself. All right, so for female vocals, they sound really well on this IEM. Okay, very nice and bright. Okay, so this IEM is bright to a certain extent, and if I talk about the treble later, okay, you can understand why it's bright. Okay, so it's not a very bright, but it's bright IEM. Okay, for female vocals, they ride on that brightness, and they sound present, they sound energetic, even though the note weight is on the leaner side, on the lighter side, and the tone is on the lighter side. For female vocals, they need to sound bright, they need to have that energy in the mix, and this IEM does portray that, and it brings out the female vocals on these IEMs. Okay, so let's talk about the treble. So as I mentioned, treble, it's okay, it's quite bright to a certain extent, and if you take a look at the trail off, roll off, some people call it the roll off of the treble, it's a little bit on the unusual side. Okay, so it's got the air at the tail end there, so that's why for this one they have got some nozzles to adjust that airiness of that treble. But with the shorter nozzle, right, the air of this treble, it's got a more natural roll off. Okay, so some dampening of the treble, I'm not too sure, but from what I hear is that the soundstage sounds more enclosed, and the treble has got a more natural roll off as compared to the longer nozzle, right? So treble is nice and bright, right? And cymbal strikes and hi-hats, that they've got that sparkle there. If I were to use the longer nozzle, it sounds a little bit too synthesized, which is not to my liking. So I like to use the shorter nozzle, which sounds more natural. So cymbal strikes and the hi-hats, the roll off of that, the trail off of that hi-hat, they sound more natural. Okay, so treble on this is really nice and crystal clear, right? Even though the note weight is on the lighter side, on the leaner side, a very dry tone. Okay, I would say it's a dry tone. Some people, again, I mentioned, some people may not like this type of dryness, but if you listen long enough, and it depends on your source as well, which I'll talk about later. All right, so it's actually adjustable. It's quite sensitive to the source. Okay, so for treble wise, it's bright, right? It's got that sparkle there, and it's crystal clear, right? I've listened to a lot of IEMs, and not many have this type of clarity when it comes to the treble. Okay, right, so I spoke about the source. Now this IEM, which is the Kirin, it's quite sensitive to the source, and if you're using a mobile phone, right, this may not produce the full potential of the sound. So I would suggest to use a DAC, something like this, right? The Hip DAC 2, right? So this will have enough power to juice up this Kirin, so that it gives out the full potential of the sound. So it's quite source dependent, right? So for the Hip DAC 2, it sounds warmer, right? So it will give more warmth, more color to the TRN Kirin, right? But if you're using like the Zen DAC and the Zen Can, right, that would give it a bit more of a neutral sound. And of course, I've got my hip deck 2, my Hybe R5 Gen 2, that also gives it a very dry source. Okay, so it depends on the source that you are pairing this up with, but definitely if you are running this off a phone, I would suggest to use a deck to juice up this IEM to give it the most potential of it. All right, so yeah, so I really like this IEM, right? In fact, it's more of a love-hate relationship with this IEM. I wish that it's got a warmer tone to it. I wish, right? It's not so dry, okay? But with the Hip Deck 2, it doesn't sound so dry. So I'm pretty happy with this, with the quality of the sound that it produces, and at the price of $129 US. And do I recommend it? Definitely, right? For planar magnetic IEM, this produces very good sound for this price, and at the accessories that they provide, I think is a very good value, right? So that concludes my review and impressions of this TRN Kirin. If you guys learned something from this video and or enjoyed watching this video, do consider to give this video a thumbs up, and please don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Alright, so that's it for now. Thank you so much for watching my video. I wish you guys have a great day ahead, and I'll see you again in my next video. Cheers.